Thank you for listening. This course was created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional podcasts, books, newsletters, and cool merchandise await. Let's get started. Sustainability in artificial intelligence refers to the long-term environmental and social consequences of how these systems are built, trained, and deployed. Too often, attention focuses solely on performance metrics like accuracy or scale, while the resource demands remain in the background. Yet training a large model requires enormous computing power, vast amounts of electricity, and specialized hardware, each of which has consequences beyond the data center. At the same time, social questions emerge. Who benefits from these innovations, and who bears the costs of resource consumption or inequitable access? Responsible AI cannot limit itself to narrow definitions of fairness in algorithms. It must also account for how technology interacts with the world's ecosystems and communities. Framing sustainability as part of AI governance helps learners see that the future of artificial intelligence depends not only on technical breakthroughs, but also on its ability to align with long-term planetary and societal needs. One of the clearest sustainability challenges lies in energy consumption. Training large-scale models often involves thousands of graphics processors running continuously for weeks or even months, consuming electricity on a scale comparable to that of small towns. This demand does not end after training. Inference, the process of running the model repeatedly to answer queries or generate outputs, also requires significant power when scaled to millions of users. The combination of training and inference creates a constant and heavy load on energy systems. Unless these demands are tracked and managed, AI systems risk becoming silent contributors to rising global emissions. Measurement is therefore not optional. It is the first step in accountability. Only by quantifying energy consumption can organizations make informed choices about efficiency strategies or renewable energy adoption. Carbon footprint provides another lens for examining AI's environmental impact. While energy use is one part of the equation, the source of that energy determines how sustainable a system truly is. A data center drawing electricity from a coal-heavy grid produces far more greenhouse gases than one powered primarily by wind, solar, or hydroelectric energy. This means that the geographical location of compute facilities matters as much as the total amount of electricity consumed. Stakeholders increasingly expect life cycle analyses that calculate emissions across the entire life of an AI system, from training to deployment and eventual retirement. These analyses allow organizations to understand the cumulative effect of their operations, not just momentary snapshots. By embracing life cycle carbon accounting, AI developers can demonstrate serious commitment to sustainability while also identifying where targeted improvements will yield the greatest reductions in emissions. Hardware resource demands add another critical dimension to AI's sustainability story. Modern AI depends on specialized processors, memory modules, and storage systems, many of which require rare earth elements or other scarce materials. Mining for these resources is not environmentally neutral. It often leads to habitat destruction, water pollution, and negative impacts on local communities. In addition, the pace of technological advancement in AI drives rapid hardware turnover, as older systems quickly become obsolete. This creates a short lifespan for devices that are energy and resource intensive to manufacture. The result is growing electronic waste, much of which is not recycled responsibly. Addressing hardware sustainability requires rethinking not just how systems are used, but how long they are designed to last, and whether organizations are committed to recycling and refurbishment rather than disposal. Water usage is another often overlooked consequence of AI infrastructure. Large data centers produce enormous amounts of heat, and many facilities rely on water-based cooling systems to maintain safe operating conditions. The volume of water required can be startling, especially in regions already facing scarcity. Drawing millions of liters of water to cool servers may seem invisible to users, but it has very real consequences for nearby communities and ecosystems. What complicates the issue further is that many organizations provide little transparency about how much water their systems consume or where it comes from. As awareness of climate and water crises grows, stakeholders demand disclosure and innovation in cooling strategies, from more efficient air systems to closed-loop water recycling. Treating water as a finite resource is essential for ensuring that AI does not worsen global sustainability challenges. Sustainability is not only about the environment, it is also about social equity. The benefits of advanced AI systems are often concentrated in wealthy regions and industries that can afford massive compute budgets. Meanwhile, the costs, whether in the form of resource extraction, energy burdens, or e-waste disposal, frequently fall on less advantaged regions. This imbalance reinforces digital divides, where access to cutting-edge AI remains limited to those already privileged. At the same time, marginalized groups often bear the brunt of risks, such as job displacement or biased decision-making, without equal opportunity to share in the benefits. Calls for equitable distribution of AI's gains emphasize that sustainability must account for fairness across communities. By aligning development with social equity, AI systems can move beyond narrow utility and become genuine instruments of shared global progress. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals provide a valuable framework for connecting artificial intelligence to global priorities. These goals emphasize reducing poverty, improving health, ensuring education, and protecting the environment, among many others. AI has clear potential to contribute to these objectives, whether through smarter agricultural systems, more accurate disease diagnostics, or improved climate modeling. At the same time, AI can undermine progress if its development consumes disproportionate resources or reinforces inequalities. A model that improves financial efficiency in wealthy markets while driving up emissions globally may do little to advance sustainable development. Integrating AI with sustainability frameworks helps organizations weigh both benefits and externalities. The challenge is to create systems that contribute to human progress without shifting burdens onto vulnerable populations or ecosystems. By aligning AI with the SDGs, developers and policymakers can position technology as a partner in global well-being rather than a source of harm. Measuring AI's impact is an essential step in turning sustainability into action rather than aspiration. Tools are emerging that allow practitioners to estimate the carbon footprint of training and deploying models. These tools give researchers visibility into the environmental cost of their work, which can inform design decisions. Benchmarking efficiency of compute and storage systems allows organizations to compare their performance to industry peers, encouraging a culture of competition toward sustainability. Monitoring resource use extends beyond electricity, including water consumption for cooling and the use of scarce materials in hardware. Public reporting frameworks are also beginning to take shape, offering ways to standardize how organizations share sustainability data with stakeholders. By embracing measurement and disclosure, AI practitioners move sustainability from a vague idea to a quantifiable and accountable practice. Efficiency strategies provide some of the most immediate and practical ways to reduce AI's environmental footprint. Model compression techniques can shrink the size of neural networks without significantly sacrificing accuracy, reducing energy demands during training and inference. Optimizing training processes through improved algorithms or better hardware utilization cuts waste and makes computation more efficient. Reusing pre-trained models instead of building new ones from scratch allows researchers to build on prior work while conserving resources. Shifting toward energy-efficient architectures, including specialized processors designed to reduce power draw, represents another frontier of sustainable design. These approaches remind us that innovation and responsibility are not in conflict. In many cases, efficiency improves both environmental impact and system performance simultaneously. Cloud providers play a pivotal role in shaping the sustainability profile of AI systems. Because most organizations rely on third-party infrastructure rather than maintaining their own data centers, the commitments of providers directly influence the carbon and energy footprint of AI deployments. Major cloud platforms have announced carbon neutrality pledges and are expanding their investments in renewable energy sources. Yet regional disparities remain. A customer in one part of the world may have access to green-powered data centers, while another is limited to fossil fuel-heavy grids. Procurement policies can accelerate progress as customers increasingly factor sustainability into their choice of provider. Organizations that demand transparency and renewable commitments help push the entire industry toward greener practices, demonstrating how consumer pressure can influence systemic change. Circular economy principles provide another lens for sustainability, focusing on reducing waste and reusing materials. In the context of AI, this means extending the lifespan of specialized hardware through refurbishment and repair rather than disposal. It also means designing components for longevity, making them modular so that upgrades do not require complete replacement. Partnerships with responsible recycling organizations allow valuable materials from outdated equipment to be recovered and reused rather than discarded. Embracing these practices shifts the model from a linear produce-use-discard cycle to a regenerative loop that minimizes harm. Given the rapid pace of hardware innovation in AI, adopting circular economy approaches is particularly important to reduce electronic waste and lower the demand for resource-intensive mining. Transparency and disclosure turn sustainability commitments into practices that can be verified and trusted. Public reporting of energy use, emissions, and water consumption gives stakeholders insight into organizational impact. Independent audits provide further credibility, ensuring that sustainability claims are not exaggerated or misleading. Integrating sustainability data into environmental, social, and governance (ESG) reporting connects AI practices to established accountability frameworks already recognized by investors and regulators. Stakeholders increasingly expect this level of openness, viewing it as a sign of organizational maturity and responsibility. By disclosing not just achievements but also areas for improvement, companies demonstrate that sustainability is a continuous journey. Transparency ensures that sustainability in AI is not left to marketing slogans, but becomes part of genuine accountability to users, investors, and society. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. The regulatory landscape around sustainability and artificial intelligence is beginning to take shape, reflecting a growing recognition that voluntary measures alone are insufficient. Some jurisdictions are enacting laws that require organizations to disclose their greenhouse gas emissions, with specific provisions for digital services. Sector-specific rules, such as those in finance or healthcare, are also starting to include sustainability reporting as part of broader compliance obligations. Anticipated AI-focused frameworks are expected to formalize requirements for energy tracking, carbon disclosure, and resource use audits. Internationally, coordination is increasing as governments seek to avoid fragmentation by aligning reporting standards. This momentum signals that sustainability is moving from being a matter of organizational goodwill to a regulatory expectation, one that will influence how AI systems are designed and deployed across industries and regions. Social responsibility programs represent another dimension of AI sustainability, reminding us that technology is not only about minimizing harm, but also about creating positive impact. Many organizations are investing in digital literacy initiatives that equip underserved populations with the skills to access and benefit from AI tools. Others are working to provide equitable access to platforms, ensuring that marginalized communities are not excluded from opportunities created by AI. Collaboration with local groups and civil society organizations strengthens these efforts by aligning programs with real community needs. Integrating fairness with sustainability ensures that benefits are distributed more broadly, preventing AI from becoming yet another technology that widens inequality. These programs highlight the potential of AI to be part of a broader movement toward social resilience and equity. Trade-offs inevitably arise when organizations attempt to balance sustainability goals with technical and commercial pressures. For example, larger models often achieve higher accuracy, but they also consume exponentially more resources, raising questions about whether incremental performance gains justify environmental costs. Innovation speed may conflict with sustainability when rushing to release new models leads to inefficient training processes or premature hardware turnover. Adopting renewable energy can increase costs in the short term, creating tension between sustainability and profitability. Too often, sustainability is treated as an afterthought rather than a design principle, which leads to reactive rather than proactive strategies. By acknowledging trade-offs openly, organizations can make conscious choices that align with their values and stakeholder expectations, rather than letting sustainability slip to the margins. Organizational responsibilities form the backbone of sustainable AI practices. To treat sustainability seriously, companies must move beyond aspirational statements and embed it directly into their governance systems. This includes establishing policies that explicitly address environmental and social impacts of AI, from energy use to equitable access. Organizations should monitor their performance against defined sustainability targets, much as they track financial or security outcomes. Transparent reporting to stakeholders reinforces accountability, signaling that leadership views sustainability as central to long-term resilience. At the highest levels, boards and executives must take ownership of these responsibilities, ensuring that they are not relegated to technical teams alone. When leadership embraces sustainability as a strategic priority, it cascades through every stage of development and deployment, shaping how systems are built, how resources are allocated, and how outcomes are measured. Cross-functional collaboration is essential for sustainability, because no single team holds all the expertise required to manage the environmental and social impacts of AI. Engineers contribute by optimizing systems for efficiency, designing algorithms and architectures that minimize waste. Sustainability specialists bring tools and methods for measuring impacts, such as life cycle carbon accounting and water use analysis. Legal teams ensure compliance with emerging regulations and help interpret how disclosure obligations apply to AI practices. Leadership coordinates these roles, setting priorities and aligning culture so that sustainability is seen as integral to the mission. This cross-functional approach creates a holistic system where sustainability is not a side project but woven into the fabric of daily operations. Without collaboration, organizations risk fragmented efforts that fall short of meaningful progress. The ethical implications of AI sustainability extend far beyond immediate business concerns, pointing to deeper questions of fairness and responsibility. One concern is intergenerational responsibility, the obligation to preserve resources and a livable planet for future generations, rather than consuming them recklessly today. Fair distribution of AI's benefits is another ethical priority, ensuring that advanced technologies do not remain concentrated in wealthy regions, while others bear the environmental or social costs. Organizations also carry an obligation to avoid harm to vulnerable populations, particularly in regions most affected by resource extraction, climate change, or waste disposal. Respect for planetary boundaries, recognizing the limits of Earth's ecosystems, is fundamental. These ethical considerations remind us that sustainability is not just about numbers in a report but about justice, stewardship, and shared responsibility for global well-being. Future directions for sustainable AI. I highlight opportunities for innovation and structural change. Green AI research is expanding, focusing on developing models and training techniques that achieve strong performance with dramatically lower resource requirements. New architectures are emerging that prioritize efficiency without sacrificing capability, signaling a shift away from the assumption that bigger always means better. Regulatory integration is expected to grow, with sustainability becoming a formal part of AI governance in many regions. Global benchmarks are also likely to expand, offering common standards for measuring and comparing impacts across organizations and industries. Together, these trends point toward a future where sustainability is not an optional enhancement but a fundamental dimension of AI development. As this future unfolds, organizations that invest early in green practices will be positioned as leaders rather than laggards. The practical takeaways from this discussion are clear. AI sustainability must be understood as spanning both environmental and social dimensions, from carbon emissions and water use to equity and digital inclusion. Efficiency and disclosure are the twin pillars of accountability, ensuring that organizations minimize impacts while being transparent about what remains. Equity is not an optional extra, but a guiding principle, shaping how benefits and risks are distributed across society. Governance provides the structure for these commitments, embedding sustainability into decision-making processes and holding leaders accountable. For practitioners, this means building sustainability into everyday practices, whether that is designing more efficient code, choosing renewable-powered infrastructure, or engaging communities in decision-making. In short, sustainability is not a side note but an essential ingredient of responsible AI. The forward outlook suggests that sustainability will soon be cemented as a regulatory expectation rather than a voluntary choice. Governments are moving toward mandates requiring disclosure of energy use, emissions, and other environmental indicators for AI systems. Industry adoption of standardized environmental reporting will likely accelerate, making comparisons across organizations more transparent. Tools for tracking carbon and water impacts are expected to become more widespread and easier to integrate into workflows. Cultural attitudes are also shifting, with both employees and customers demanding greener practices from the organizations they engage with. Together, these developments signal a broader cultural move toward Green AI 1, where sustainability is no longer viewed as a competitive advantage for a few, but as a baseline expectation for all. A key lesson from this exploration of sustainability is that environmental and social impacts must be considered together rather than treated as separate concerns. Artificial intelligence consumes energy, water, and materials at extraordinary rates, but the way these resources are managed also has social consequences. Communities near mining sites bear the cost of hardware production, regions facing water scarcity are affected by cooling demands, and marginalized groups often lack access to the benefits AI promises. By connecting environmental sustainability to social equity, organizations create a more holistic view of responsibility. This combined perspective ensures that strategies for reducing carbon footprints are paired with efforts to expand digital inclusion. Sustainability in this sense is not just about protecting ecosystems but also about building systems that support human dignity and fairness across all societies. Efficiency emerges as one of the most powerful levers for addressing sustainability challenges in AI. When models are compressed, training optimized, or hardware used more effectively, the results are not only lower emissions but also faster, cheaper, and often more accurate systems. Efficiency gains demonstrate that sustainability does not necessarily require sacrifice but can drive technical innovation. For example, researchers who reuse pre-trained models avoid the waste of retraining from scratch while speeding up new applications. Similarly, adopting specialized chips designed for lower power use can deliver both cost savings and environmental benefits. These strategies highlight how environmental goals and business priorities can align. By prioritizing efficiency, organizations can achieve meaningful sustainability gains without slowing the pace of discovery or innovation. Governance provides the structure necessary to transform sustainability from aspiration into daily practice. Policies must require measurement of impacts, leadership must enforce accountability, and reporting must be consistent and transparent. Without governance, sustainability risks being relegated to marketing slogans or isolated projects. With it, sustainability becomes part of how organizations evaluate success, alongside profitability and performance. Strong governance ensures that decisions about model size, deployment location, or hardware refresh cycles are guided by sustainability considerations. Embedding these decisions into formal frameworks prevents short-term pressures from overriding long-term responsibilities. Governance is therefore not just about compliance with laws, but about building cultures of accountability, where sustainability is treated as an organizational value rather than a public relations tool. Disclosure and transparency are essential for ensuring credibility in sustainability claims. Public reporting of energy use, emissions, and water consumption allows stakeholders to evaluate whether organizations are meeting their commitments. Independent audits further strengthen trust by verifying that claims are accurate and not exaggerated. Integration of sustainability reporting into environmental, social, and governance frameworks connects AI practices to established accountability mechanisms recognized by regulators and investors. Transparency also fosters collective learning, as organizations share not only successes but also challenges, helping peers identify better practices. By committing to disclosure, companies demonstrate humility and responsibility, acknowledging that sustainability is a journey rather than a destination. Trust grows when organizations are open about their impacts and their progress. Ethical responsibility underlies every aspect of sustainable AI. The idea of intergenerational justice reminds us that today's decisions about energy, materials, and water will shape the options available to future generations. Respecting planetary boundaries means recognizing that ecosystems have limits and must be preserved for long-term survival. Fairness requires distributing the benefits of AI more equitably, ensuring that advancements in automation, healthcare, or education do not remain exclusive to wealthy regions. Sustainability framed as an ethical obligation highlights that organizations are accountable not only to shareholders but also to humanity at large. Treating sustainability as ethics in action elevates it from compliance to stewardship, positioning AI not as an extractive technology but as a tool for supporting human and ecological flourishing. Looking forward, environmental and social sustainability will become inseparable from the practice of responsible AI. Regulators are moving toward mandates that require measurement, disclosure, and mitigation of impacts, making sustainability a formal condition of deployment. Industry standards are evolving to guide efficiency, transparency, and equity practices. At the same time, cultural expectations are shifting, with users, employees, and communities demanding that organizations minimize harm while expanding benefits. The future of AI will depend not only on performance or capability, but also on whether it can coexist within the limits of our planet and the needs of our societies. In the next episode, we will turn to healthcare, exploring how artificial intelligence is transforming diagnosis, treatment, and patient care, while raising its own distinct challenges for ethics, safety, and trust. Thanks for tuning in to Bare Metal Cyber, your trusted source for cybersecurity educational materials, news, and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.